Hello, thank you for joining. Jess, I'm going to make you the host, and then you can, if you need to mute people, you can do that during the call.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Let me share my screen.
and Jess is hosting today's call, and we are piggybacking off of her coach's corner from yesterday. With the theme as self-love. It's also February, and also our challenge group right now is this week we sent out an email for today on self-love with all of our individual like tips for as coaches, what we do. So it's gonna be a great call, great time to discuss this.
Yes. Welcome to February. Yay, we're in February too. So
Yeah.
love month. Um, and a little bit about just when I think of February, it has evolved in the seasons of having children. It's like when we didn't have kids, it was like, oh, Valentine's date night. And now it's like, oh, that's a big hassle. And now we just call it like Family Love Day and we go do stuff as a family. But I love the month of February because I feel like it is just an excuse to be more intentional around how we care for ourselves, self-love, get your girlfriends together, Galentine's, like whatever. I just love the idea of spreading that throughout the month and incorporating it really into every day. And I feel, I talk about in the email just how learning how to slow down really helped me to find a stronger depth when it comes to self-love, because I feel like I've always been pretty good about taking care of myself in the sense of moving my body, being aware of what I eat. I would say where my self-love started to grow the most and then add depth to all of those wellness areas and how I take care of myself is when I slowed down and I became more aware of my thoughts and the way that I was incorporating wellness things instead of just task lists, like do this, do this, do this, do this. Like I was like robotically going through those things. It helped me to tune in even deeper. What do I need? How do I need to nourish my body? And that started really with doing breath work, slowing down, connecting to my breath, getting out of fight or flight, because I realized when my breath was up here majority of the time, like, that's a whole nother thing for another day, I feel like, but a lot of adults live with breath up in our chest because of just life compensation. And so becoming more aware of breath, bringing it to my diaphragm, sitting with my breath intentionally, and really just starting with 5 to 10 minutes a day really helped me to have more pauses throughout my day, not just in the moments of breath, but I remember standing in the kitchen doing dishes, and as I had been in breath practice and just like pausing in my thoughts instead of being like on a hamster wheel of like, okay, I'm doing the dishes, then I gotta do this, then I gotta go change my baby's diaper, so it allowed me to just slow down and be more aware of my thoughts and my mindset and the way I was speaking to myself, which really changed so many things in my life. And so again, we hear a lot about it, and it definitely gets talked about more in the month of February of the self-love, but really it's the deeper of self-love, self-compassion. Are we speaking to ourselves like we would speak to a loved one? That's a question that I ask my clients a lot when it comes to them working on their goals. It's not just, we are so much more than a to-do list. We are so much more than our tasks and our accomplishments. And of course, we have to have awareness around those things if we're trying to accomplish goals. But if we can give ourselves compassion and care and love along the way, it makes the process a whole lot more kind and enjoyable, and we are not just robots going through tasks. And so again, treating yourself to, getting a pedicure, awesome. Treating yourself to even saying, I need to go on a walk rather than do this load of laundry right now, or I need to go do my lifting session instead of go, the task list, I feel like never ends, whether you are a mom or not. We always have adult responsibilities. And again, whether you're a parent or not, I love looking toward kids because they so beautifully live in the moment of life. And so sometimes as adults, we can forget to do that, right? We have so many things on our plate, and it can feel like, I used to very much live in the mindset of, once I get all these things done, then I'll be like, like I can take a breath, or I can have space to think. But really the inner peace came from creating space and time to tap into breath, which again created so much more pause in my day between stimulus and response of life coming at me, and being able to slow down and say, what do I need right now in this moment, or how do I want to respond in this moment. So just some different things that I wanted to bring up with ways that you can start incorporating self-love into your day-to-day. And again, it's just the little things that start to add up. Just like we talk about as coaches, it's the little consistent efforts with the things we're doing around our goals that really start to add up into big things. 5-10 minutes of breath a day added up to so much more space in my head. And really what that created is tapping into my heart space and living more from a place of feeling and being aware of my needs instead of just constantly in my head space. So morning affirmations is one. Start each day by acknowledging something wonderful about yourself. Positive self-talk can set a powerful tone for the day. And I would say even along with this is just being aware of our self-talk. That's one thing, again, that slowdown created for me, of being like, wow, I wasn't necessarily speaking mean to myself all the time, but I was always like, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's on the next? What's the next task? And then just slowing down and being like, look at what you are doing. Look at what you are accomplishing. I feel like this is one with my clients too, where I ask them to pan out and say, what are you doing? I know you're looking at the things that you're not doing, but what are you doing that's helping you? Or what are you doing now that looks different from 3 months ago? And acknowledging and affirming the things that you are doing, just like we tend to do in a better way often toward others that we love and care about than we do toward ourselves. And that affirming kind words, that boosting of positivity. And again, it's not like we have to live in this place of constant positivity, but it really does help to acknowledge the things that we are doing, instead of just harping on ourselves. And this can also be setting an intention for your day of how you want to feel. So today I want to feel however, when I say a feeling of coming back to your intention, I want to feel just powerful. What does that look like? Wanting to feel powerful, that could look like going to the gym. That could look like, having a conversation that you've been avoiding that can be worthwhile, even though it's hard to step into, things like that. Treat yourself. Every day indulge in something that brings you joy, even if it's as simple as putting your feet in the grass and taking a breath.
Jess,
This
were you sharing your screen or no? You weren't.
is it not sharing?
No, you just mentioned it. So I was like, oh, maybe
Oh, sorry.
okay.
It showed it was, or it looked like it was on my end.
Share screen.
Yeah, let me go back to it. Because it asked me if I wanted to share the desktop,
Or
and
maybe
then
it's just me. Can you guys see your screen? No. Okay.
okay, sorry guys. It looked like on my
I just
end.
wanted to make sure we were looking at it if you wanted us
Thank
to.
you. Told you guys I'm not technologically savvy. Okay, share screen. And then it's just asking me like desktop one is and
Yes,
share.
desktop or browser. Yeah, if you click desktop, then we can just see your full desktop. And then you can click on like the actual.
Okay. Anything?
Mm-mm.
It's asking me to check system preferences. So,
Oh, maybe your computer doesn't allow for.
okay, I'll just keep talking. It's fine. I'll
Okay,
run. I
okay,
don't want to.
okay.
You can look at the email if you want to see the
Yes,
details after we talk. Let me go
that's
back.
perfect.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just pulling my email back up so I can refer to it. Okay, so number two, I talk about treating yourself. So just indulging in something every day that brings you joy. And this is where I think kids are so good at this. They're going to choose into simple things that make them happy throughout the day, and good at living in the moment too, whether they're feeling something and having a tantrum in the middle of the store because that's what they're feeling right then and there. But kids are great at showing us how to play and be curious and just be little explorers. And so yeah, we have adult responsibilities, we have work life, and if we are parents and all the other hats that we wear, but we can afford to give ourselves, this says treat yourself daily to at least one thing that brings you joy, and hopefully working toward just choosing into multiple things daily that bring you joy. And they don't have to be, a 2-hour event. It can be going outside for a few minutes disconnected. It can be listening to a book take 10 minutes to listen to. But something that brings you joy as like you as a human being, me as Jess, not there's so many things as a mom that absolutely bring me joy, but even choosing into things that bring me joy as like for myself personally. Um, for me, like this cold plunging is a big one for me. Like I can go take 3 minutes and that brings me joy because of how I feel in that moment of connecting to my breath. And then after the dopamine hit that comes with that as well.
Mhm.
Um, number three, I talk about nature therapy, just going outside, um, whether that's a walk, whether that's having a meal outside, depending on different seasons. I have felt the benefits hugely this winter of making sure to get outside every single day, and absolutely has positively impacted my mood, and a challenge that I offered in my own community of just getting outside every day from November 1st to March 1st. And it has been a world of a difference of making it even more intentional than I did last year. I can feel it when I haven't had it. Typically, I just walk my kids to school and go for like 45-minute, hour-long walk. On the weekends, we have all the things. So I can feel it though when it ends up being later in the day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need my walk. And, taking 15 minutes to go outside. And so sometimes, like if I know my outside time isn't going to happen until later in the day for whatever reason, I will just go outside in the morning, snow, whatever we have on the ground, and just put my bare feet on the ground for a minute just to ground in and get that outside time for a moment. And then I know I can get my walk time in later. But nature has a great way of calming and again, pulling out perspective, getting out of the walls of the house and just connecting.
I think
Um,
also just
go ahead,
wanted to
Henry.
add in a thing like a lot of people are having a hard time with like getting outside, depending on the weather. And something that I tell my clients is that it's pretty amazing what we can get used to. So we think that, oh,
Oh
that's
yeah.
cold or it's uncomfortable, but if you just step outside that comfort zone and just be a little cold, it's a little rainy or a little windy, or like just do it. And if you just
Mhm.
decide that I'm going to do this every day this week, we can get used to quite a lot of, weather. So
Totally.
I think like just taking the leap and just decide that I am going to spend time outside, no matter if I'm a little uncomfortable. And then suddenly you are definitely going to be less uncomfortable. And then maybe it's actually going to feel really nice because
Yeah.
the feeling afterwards weighs up for the potential uncomfortableness that is there, for a little while. So just wanted to like
Absolutely.
bring that
And
in
how
as
you dress for
Yes, I was
sure.
gonna
I mean,
say
yeah,
dress
an underdress
appropriate.
and get cold exposure. You can
Yeah,
also like a longer coat is the game changer.
yeah.
Like
I have
having
like
a
a coat
coat that
that goes
goes to
down to
my
my
knees or
ankles.
my shins, I'm like in a sleeping bag and it's totally bearable. And into what Henrietta said, we went on a trip to California after Christmas, and don't get me wrong, I loved the sunshine. I loved that it was like in the 60s, but my body was craving like a chilly walk. Like I could not wait to go outside and walk in the cool, cold, crisp air when we got home. And that
That's
was
so good.
that was such a weird feeling that I was like, I miss my cold walks.
I
So
know.
absolutely can get used to it.
Some things on that too. I'll say, like, I do think that it is hard to get outside and walk when you have little kids. I felt like when I had Scotty when she was a baby, I got the cover for her stroller. It's like a clear cover, and I would just bundle her up so like she wasn't getting like snowed or rained on. And I would bundle her up, and it always felt like, oh, it's too cold to take her for a walk, but it was crazy. She had her best naps, like that, like cold air with the warm blankie. She took her best naps when she was like a baby, and I would take her for winter walks. It was hard though when she was like 2 to 4 because they want to walk at that age. They don't want to be in the stroller. And then you're not getting like any steps in. You're just like outside and then you're carrying them for half the time. And so if you're at that stage, I just want to say like, something is better than nothing. And just remind yourself of that. And you might not get your 10,000 steps that you planned on. You might just be outside and it's like, oh, there's a leaf. Oh, there's a rock.
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit painful, but you're outside and you're teaching your child that habit. Or maybe you can like hand them off and like put the kids to bed and go right before, your bedtime. I found that was like a good time to go when I had kids at that age because they still go to bed fairly early. And then you could just even do a 20-minute walk like around the block, and it just helps you just like have a moment to yourself. And then you can come back and like still have your whatever downtime you want to have at night before you go to bed. So just know that if you're at that hard stage with kids, that just something over nothing, and like don't expect perfection, and just know like even if it's 5 minutes outside, it's better than none. And then as your kids get older too, like the past week, actually, my kids have been walking with me before bed. Only two of them have volunteered. I'm hoping to get all of them on board, but it's actually my younger two. But Jack and Scotty, and they were just saying yesterday on our night walk that like they noticed that they sleep a lot better after they go on a walk. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like so, and they can keep up now. Like I can get a good walk in at this age. So it will come too eventually. So that's been really fun. But it looks dark and cold and terrible outside. But then we get out there and it's like, oh, this is actually not that bad. And it's a nice night. So it always looks worse than it is too, for the most part. I will say that too. So if you get out in the bad weather, then you'll really appreciate like those sunny days or those like really pretty days. You'll notice them too. So there's something to be said for that also. So
For sure.
I
Different
love your
seasons.
challenge. You guys can still join Jess's challenge. I'm not officially joining it, but it's made me more intentional with my outside time, Jess.
Yeah. No, and I've loved to hear people say that. I've heard people say like, I know I'm not officially doing the challenge, but I've thought of like I post daily just for
Yeah,
like
seeing you post about
encouragement.
it like reminds
And
me.
yeah, and people get outside more, and I love that because when we feel that difference, we want to do it. And that comes, I feel like, just like Michaela saying, oh, it's like it looks not so great, and then you get out and you don't regret it. And that's literally with anything that nourishes us. Like
Yeah, working out.
working out, taking 10 extra minutes to prep that meal, like you
Yes.
don't ever do it and then be like, oh, I wish that was dumb. Like you're like, thank you. And that is self-love. It's like, I am worth taking those moments. I am worth like, yes, my kids are important. Yes, my job is important, but guess what? I'm important too. And I'm going to take this time for myself. And that's what all of this is coming back to. The next one, how we're nourishing our bodies. Again, when we choose into these things, when we choose into, I'm going to plan ahead for myself. And I feel like it made such a shift in my life too, when I was tapping into like, what do I need to nourish me and help me hit my goals? And I'm doing it out of love, not like, oh, hopefully if I do this, then I'll drop this 10 pounds. And then doing it out of love is so much more of an enjoyable process of like, let's just get curious and see what happens when I treat myself with kindness and I put nourishing things in my body. Wow, I feel better. And then it's like done in such a different mindset than maybe if I lose this 10 pounds, I will like myself more. Like it's flipping like kind of what is blasted at us of like lose 10 pounds, lose 5 pounds, right? In our like diet culture, and saying, but what happens if I just get curious and really understand how to nourish my body in a loving way? And then I tune into what I need, because even as coaches, we are helping you and giving you education and instruction, but we really want you to like have that power in you to be like, okay, I have parameters, I'm learning, I better understand what macros are, I know how to get protein in, but like feeling into it and trusting that you have the information you need to make those choices on your own, and not have to like, oh, what would my coach say? Like, that's okay to ask that, and to ask us as coaches, that's what we're here for. But like for you to gain that power and be like, but this is what I'm choosing because I know it nourishes my body, I feel good, all the things. Another one is digital detox. Um, that could look like a day, that could look like a couple hours. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z and turn my phone off. I have done, like a week at a time of digital detox. It gets a little bit harder with like sharing business stuff. And I get that we are very much like connected to our phones, but that could look a lot of different ways. It could be turning your phone off at a certain time in the night. I strongly recommend like I put my phone out of my room, away from me in the night, and try and be off of it like an hour or so before bedtime. No, doesn't happen every single night, but even saying, again, I invite you to do this self-loving with curiosity. What happens if I put my phone away earlier at night? Or what happens if I take a break from social media for the weekend and just really be present with my family? You still might be taking photos or whatever of things that you're doing, but like, wait to post them. I like to do this a lot of times on vacation. It's like I might post a little bit when I'm away, but like I try to just be in the moment. So whatever that digital detox looks like to you.
I
The
think
next
another one too, Jess, like we all unconsciously will grab our phone for social media. Like I just think it's just like such a trigger now for all of us. Like you don't even plan on getting on and you're just like all of a sudden you're just tapping on Instagram or whatever it is. So I have found it helpful if I want to be more intentional with that, to just delete the app. Like delete the app, and then when I need to go on to do something, I'm intentional. It takes 2 seconds to download it again, do my post, do my thing, whatever it is that I need to do, and then delete the app again and get off. Like it's way easier to do that than to tell myself like I'm just not going to get on when I don't need to be on today. So even trying that, like this week, I'm going to delete Instagram. I will re-download it every day from 9 to 10 and do whatever my tasks are, catch up on things, post, and then I'll delete it. And then that gives you like your brain just then is like, oh, you go to grab for it and oh, it's not there. Okay, I don't need it. And then you don't get distracted by it. But you can still get the things done that you need to get done, because I think a lot of us, like, we do have things we need to do on social media, but you go on to do the thing and then you get distracted by all the other stuff. And so it's really easy to waste time, and that's frustrating. So
Yes.
I think remembering like you can download and read, back in the day, we had to wait like 10 minutes for our internet to start. So we can delete and download an app very quickly now.
Everyone's hearing the sound in their head now.
Yeah.
Who's on the phone? I
Yeah.
need the internet. I love that. And it is so true, because it almost becomes like muscle memory.
Yeah. And you're like, why am I grabbing for this? And when it's
Yeah.
not there, you'll do it a couple times and like realize it. And then your brain's like, oh, don't need to do that anymore. It's
Yeah.
nice.
And that's creating like, again, being okay with dead time. We definitely live in a space of like, what's next, instant gratification. And so being aware of that and using things like Michaela's saying to like set yourself up to be like, it's okay to have dead space. It's okay to have like, and that's the feeling into what do I need right now? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to just hop on Instagram. I actually would feel really good if I went for a walk right now, or I need to eat some food or whatever that looks like. So I love that. And then learn and grow is another one. Forever a student is something I always say for myself. I will never, ever, ever know all the things, even as I am forever a student. And that's an amazing thing. Like we always have more capacity to learn and grow. And that helps us dive into things that we can find passion for as our individual selves and connect with. And yeah, so I think that continuing to learn and grow and deepening our education and passions is a great way to come back to ourselves and not just say like, oh, when I get, you know, when this, like you can do something even if it's 5 minutes to like learn a little bit something, pull up an article when instead of pulling to Instagram and you've been wondering about something, pull up an article on it. So that's another way. Number 8, laugh often. This one I realized came more naturally as I created more space in my headspace and just enjoying and being more present, because creating more space with breath, not living in constant fight or flight, living in a more parasympathetic space majority of the time helped me to be more present, helped me to stop living in like feeling so stressed out that I couldn't even like pause to laugh because I wasn't even present in the moment of my kid doing some little ridiculous thing, even if it was like pulling a funny face that I was like blind to before because I was just like, what's next? And like in constant go mode. So slowing down created more silliness, more play, more just like randomly dancing in the kitchen that my kids are like, you're a weirdo. And I'm like, I know, we all are. But it's like so nice to find that pause and laugh and play. And I really believe that pause came from slowing down and just feeling into the space of being present instead of being on a hamster wheel. And then rest and rejuvenate. This is one that we will preach as coaches, like take your rest days. When you're sick, rest, get sleep. Sleep is the foundation for so many things of our wellness. When sleep is impacted or we don't get enough chronically time, like over a long period of time, we can feel that. We can feel it in our decision making. We can feel it in our cravings. We can feel it in our reactiveness. I'll speak for myself. I can feel it in this way. So being well rested is a great way to prioritize yourself. And I will say, learning to go to bed earlier and optimizing early morning time has been so much more beneficial than like my staying up late just to have like non-mom mode space. But again, seasons, but I will say like that getting that rested time is so much more beneficial. And then number 10, we are just over a couple minutes on time, but number 10, celebrate yourself. Celebrate the things you're doing, celebrate your wins, pan out often and have that sit down with yourself and say, what am I doing well? What am I, where am I making little tiny changes and shifts that are adding up to big changes? How am I doing things different 3 months than I would have 3 months ago? How am I choosing into life differently? Slowing down? How am I choosing myself? Because ultimately, when we're choosing ourselves and not putting our needs last, we're going to be able to show up in the ways we want to, even bigger. We're going to be able to be more present. We're going to be able to show up in our responsibilities better because we're not putting ourselves as like bottom of the priority list. So February is a great time to just focus on a thing a day. Really, it can be one start. You don't have to start out with all 10. These are just ideas. And if something sparks you, say, okay, how do I want to incorporate that for me today? Maybe not even in the way I said it, but like, how does that resonate with you? And then incorporating those little by little, and you will feel the change.
Thanks, Jess.
Yeah.
And if you aren't on our emails, sign up for them. We send one out every week. And if you're doing the challenge, keep sharing in the Mighty app. And let us know how you're doing this week too. Okay, thanks everyone. Talk
Thanks,
to you
guys.
next week.